The number of stab wounds on Kader was so high that the possibility of a simple, accidental and coincidental altercation was definitely ruled out. It was clear that this Afghan man had reached Kader with a prior plan and scheme, and the killer had a strange grudge against him, as he had received over 20 stab wounds. The body was sent to the forensic department, and with the tests conducted, more horrifying dimensions of this crime were revealed. The forensic department determined that the cause of death was not the numerous stab wounds, and the victim had suffered a heart attack due to an overdose and drug interaction. In fact, the perpetrator or perpetrators of the crime did not stop at the victim's corpse and inflicted this horrific ordeal on the body. But what could be the motive behind this heinous crime? What kind of grudge was behind the incident that the killer, after murdering and dumping the body by the highway, then attacked it with a knife and mutilated the corpse in such a way? Hello friends, welcome to the Confession channel. You are watching and listening to another case from our series of videos. This is the case of a brutal and savage revenge by an Afghan woman against her husband. If you are interested in confession reports from criminal cases, we would be happy if you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell next to it so you don't miss new videos. In the month of May 1400, October 2021, COVID-19 was still present, and the most serious concern for people was whether to get the Sinopharm or AstraZeneca vaccine. The appeal of this discussion was so great that even taxi drivers wouldn't pay attention to any other topic, and were just looking for someone to convince that one vaccine was better and the other was worse. But on a Saturday morning on the 10th of May 1400, October 2021, one of those taxi drivers encountered a scene that not only made him forget about COVID-19, Sinopharm and AstraZeneca, but also left him remembering nothing but that scene for weeks and months. A mutilated and bloodied body was left on the side of the Azadigan highway. The taxi driver heard a noise in his car's engine, pulled over by chance, and his eyes fell on the corpse. At first, he thought a car had hit a pedestrian and thrown them there, but as he got closer, terror filled him because he saw stab wounds even on the head and face of the corpse. This body belonged to an Afghan national named Kader, whose brutal murder was lost among the news of the second and third doses of the coronavirus vaccine. Otherwise, it was such a sensational and complex case that it could have been the headline of the crime pages in local media for a long time. October Online dedicated itself to this after the presence of the police and ambulance, the transfer of the body, and the formation of a case. Investigations began to uncover the secret and clues of this criminal mystery, a secret that was very difficult to discover. After identifying Kader's identity and extracting the details of his residence and identifying his family members, the initial investigation started with the victim's family members. In cases like this, where there are no specific leads, the police traditionally and classically start their investigations with the family. In this case, what a stormy start. It was. Kader's mother and Kader's children provided two separate leads to the police, both of which led to the same place. The perpetrator of the crime is Laleh, Kader's wife, and of course Rahman, Laleh's cousin. In the initial investigations, after learning about her son's murder, Kader's mother said, "I have no doubt that Laleh and her cousin killed Kader. I myself saw them together, 10 times. Laleh was forced to marry Kader, and from the very first day, she disliked him. Kader himself had figured everything out, and because of this, they were always arguing. Laleh was married off to Kader, but from the very beginning, she wanted Rahman. Even though they had 3 children together, her eyes were always on her cousin Rahman. Sometimes when they argued and Kader would hit her, she would say that one day she would take revenge for all these actions. During the interrogations, the hypothesis was raised that Laleh's mother-in-law might have had animosity towards her and was even aware of the disputes between her son and Laleh, and now that she is grieving her son, has seen her eldest son, she knows Laleh and is aware that she wants to take revenge. Laleh knows and is aware that she wants to retaliate. Laleh knows and is aware that she wants to retaliate. But when we place this claim of Gadir's mother alongside the statements of Gadir's children, the claim of Laleh's involvement in Gadir's murder gains more strength. For example, Gadir's eldest son says, That day, my mom gave me, my brother, and my sister some money to go shopping. We left the house, and an hour later when we returned, my mom's cousin, whom we call Uncle Rahman, was at our house. My mom was very scared and anxious, and she was crying continuously. The second son also repeats the previous story in a different way and says, Mom was in a bad state, and when we asked her if Dad had come home or not, she was crying and said he had come home, they had a fight, he hit her and then left. The daughter's account was not much different from her two brothers. She said that night, when we returned home, my mom was crying out of distress, and then she threatened us that if the police came to us and asked us anything, we should say that Dad didn't come home that night. If we rely on the statements of Gadir's mother and his children, the case would be closed right here, and Laleh, Gadir's wife, would have to take the blame for the murder. However, Laleh stood firm on her words, insisting that she didn't know what had happened to her husband, which is understandable. Even when the murderer does not confess to the crime, the judge cannot definitively convict. Laleh even hired a lawyer, and her lawyer presented the hypothesis in court that the children's strong affection for their father, along with the disputes with their mother, and the mother's provocations, led the children to testify against their mother. There was no doubt regarding the fact that the night before the body was found, Gadir Rahman, Laleh's cousin, was there. Both the children testified that Uncle Rahman was at their house, and it was confirmed through the examination of Laleh and Rahman's mobile phones that they had been in contact. Laleh had sent a text message saying, "Now is the time you must come." Rahman and Laleh were arrested and sent to prison on charges of premeditated murder, but since they did not confess, the case remained open. They were left in limbo in prison, until finally a new lead was discovered 2 years after the murder occurred. This lead was not found outside the prison, but from within, and it was nothing other than a secret that Laleh revealed to her cellmate. While the case was progressing in the most obscure and darkest state possible, and Laleh insisted in all interrogations that she had no role in her husband's murder, her cellmate in prison provided that crucial and eye-opening lead to the police, as the case had not reached a conclusion and the killer had not been definitively identified. The police were prompted to even interrogate Laleh's cellmates, hoping to find something about Laleh's situation in prison. During one of these interrogations, the police got what they wanted when Laleh's cellmate told them that one night in the detention center, Laleh asked her, "If you dissolve a pill in a drink and give it to someone, will it be detected in a forensic toxicology test?" Traces of this clue were later found in the forensic report as well. The forensic report stated that before the victim was slaughtered with knife blows, there were pills present in the contents of their stomach. The pill mentioned in the forensic report was exactly the same pill that Laleh had inquired about from her cellmate in prison. After this new lead was discovered, the interrogation of Laleh resumed, and this time, when she realized the police had found such a clue, she finally broke her silence and confessed to everything. She said that she hated Gadir and always wanted to be Rahman's wife. This wasn't the first time she had tried to kill Gadir. She had tried all kinds of drugs on him, and the last time, she succeeded by chance. Laleh confessed that Rahman had no role in the murder, and when Gadir died, she contacted Rahman, who came to help her dispose of the body. Then they took Gadir's body near the Azadagan highway. The stabs were not out of spite. Rahman wanted to move the body, cut it into pieces and throw it in front of the dogs to eat it so that nothing remains to be discovered. But in the middle of the act, they got scared and left the corpse as it was, and returned. With these new accusations, Rahman and Laleh were sent to court again. At the request of Gadir's mother, demanding the maximum punishment for the accused, Laleh was sentenced to death, and 99 lashes for illicit relations, premeditated murder and desecration of a corpse. Rahman was also sentenced to 99 lashes and 3 years in prison for being an accomplice to murder, illicit relations and desecration of a corpse. Both received their lashes. Rahman went to prison to serve his sentence, and Laleh was awaiting the execution of her sentence, when Gadir's mother agreed to forgive the death penalty in exchange for blood money and gaining custody of Gadir's children. This agreement was finalized, and in the year 1402, with the release of Rahman and Laleh from prison, the case of the Azadagan highway murder was closed forever. Thank you for staying with us until now. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please support us and our activities by subscribing.